And now, live from Hong Kong, it's Late Night with Goldthread. Our host, Dolly Lee. And our guests for tonight, Victoria Ho and Shea Driscoll. It's Late Night with Goldthread. Might not actually be nighttime.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Late Night Show. And today we actually have 3 people on the show. So we have this beautiful new setup. And yeah, so let's get started. Today we are actually going to be teaching me Singlish. And this all started when someone that we sat next to said a very nice, "What the fuck la?" And I was like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
She's impressed. She's impressed by la. Can you imagine that? Like she was impressed by.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
That's it.
Yeah.
Somebody just added a la
Yeah.
to what, and she was like, whoa.
My son's first word was la, so that's nothing.
I'm not sure if that's considered a first word. So both Shea and Victoria, who I'm with today, are from Singapore, and Shea is actually our in-house Singlish expert. Now that he's been on.
Apparently, I've been on green screen twice.
So that makes you an expert. Put it on your Twitter profile. Therefore, it's real.
It's on the
therefore,
resume.
it's on the resume.
It's on his LinkedIn. Yeah. Under languages spoken.
Singlish expert.
Just to give you perspective on how much this means to Shea, though, he's actually on vacation, and he came back from vacation so that he can be here to teach me Singlish.
No problem. That's
So-
also on my LinkedIn.
I'm only at the tip of the iceberg with the what the fuck la, but
Correct.
Victoria has prepared a whole lesson for us.
As a Singlish scholar, I feel like it's our duty. Well, my duty, our duty, to teach Dolly Singlish. To teach the rest of you too.
To teach the world.
First, I would like to start with a word you might not like. Are you ready?
Yes.
Oh no.
No,
I hope you guys can see that.
it says angmo.
The correct pronunciation is angmo. Like Shea, am I right?
Yes.
What is?
So that means red hair. Literally means red hair, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but Shea doesn't
It
have
means
red hair.
home out.
But I don't. But it just means white people in Singapore, basically.
It means white people.
Yeah, like Shea.
Actually-
But actually, Shea is not really white.
Long story.
Long story.
Yeah. But yeah, it's used to describe white people in general, even if they're from Singapore and grew up there and spent 2 years of their life defending the country. So there's no angst here at all.
There's no angst.
So yeah, it's a very useful word, I guess.
Do
That's true.
people call you angmo?
Yeah, actively.
Actively?
Yes.
So is it a term of endearment or is it?
It kind of is. Like it varies depending on how you say it. It is mostly a term of endearment. It's not derogatory by any means. But
What if you want to use like a derogatory word to talk about
A white person?
a white person?
or you can
Actually, I
just-
don't think we do
Yeah,
have
no.
a derogatory word.
Well, you can just use
We're
angmo
peace-loving
anyway.
people.
Yeah, you can just say, "Hey, angmo zibai."
We're a peaceful country. We require our people to do 2 years of military service. Otherwise, we arrest them. That's what I
So
just learned.
just before this started rolling, Shea asked me what was our policy on swearing, and I said, we don't really have one. I mean, it's a late show, but he just said something and you missed it.
Oh, I
Yeah,
missed
But
it.
let's
that's really
move
funny.
on. Let's
That's
move on
really
from
funny.
that, yeah.
It will come out again.
Okay.
It will come out again.
The angst will return. This is
It's a much more powerful version of fuck. What he just said. But you missed it.
Interesting.
But
what the fuck?
Yvonne says, so he's like, bluff angmo la.
bluff
Hey.
angmo.
The term is chong angmo.
What's chong angmo?
A fake pirated angmo.
Yeah,
basically.
chong.
A fake.
Yeah.
Chung, is chung pirated or
Yeah,
fake?
yeah. So you go to Shenzhen and get all the chung things.
Yeah.
Guys, these things here might be chung.
We are in Hong Kong. We are in Hong Kong. Oh yeah, before we get started, sorry, we have gotten started, but I wanted to lay out, today's lesson.
We've got a plan.
This is the plan. We're gonna go through some of the biggest hits, i.e., the things that people put on T-shirts and buy in Singapore and go home with it, right?
What the fuck la?
Yeah, what the fuck? And then we're gonna go to deeper things such as English and Malay words that have been bastardized and why we're picking on Malay words specifically. Yeah. Okay.
For just slight geographical context,
Yes.
if you guys don't have a map in front of you, Malaysia's like this, and Singapore is like down here as this little smidget.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, it's
So
here.
if you make a Malaysia size,
This is Malaysia.
and this is Singapore.
Just a little crumb.
That's
but not
That's
as
true.
in an emotional way, just a physical way.
She had to clarify 'cause my blood pressure was rising. I'm very defensive about Singapore. So don't start.
But yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh yes. Okay. This is a big one. You need to know. Everybody knows it.
I'm ready.
This is on T-shirts everywhere.
Oh, it's shook. Like I'm shook. We're shook. This.
It's not shook, like SHOOK. It's not shook.
It's shook.
It's shook.
It's shook.
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 Yeah. Shook.
Like chop.
Oh.
Like rice porridge.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, kind of.
Does
yeah.
it mean rice porridge?
It means that something feels great.
It's shook. I'm
Like
shook.
like this. Oh no.
So if your rice porridge is great, and when you're done eating, you put your spoon down and you sit back and you go, wow, shook.
Wait, we are using it the same way.
He's the expert. He is the expert. Yeah. But a lot of things can be shook. You know, like a foot massage, like
A foot massage.
yeah, like you know, it's a great experience.
So
Yeah.
do you just say it by yourself? Do you say it feels shook? I'm shook.
You
It's
just say,
shook.
wow, shook.
It feels shook.
It feels
That's the
shook.
correct
It
grammatical.
feels shook. Like that.
You're still saying shook. Yeah.
It's okay, we'll get her. We'll get her. Here's a more important one.
What that? Walao. This is the
Walao.
unknown
Okay.
island of Hawaii. Walao.
Walao is super versatile.
Walao is great. Walao is your new what the fuck lah.
Walao.
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 It's an expression. It's an exclamation. Walao is great. Walao
Okay.
is like, you know, I can't believe this is happening. Walao.
Okay, so I'm eating my rice porridge, and then all of a sudden,
You're sticking to
And
the
all
rice.
of a sudden, yeah, and all of a sudden, somebody comes and knocks it over. You're like, walao.
what the fuck lah? The
There you go.
feeling. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. That's
It
what
was
this
so
one means.
shook, and now walao.
Yes, sure. Let's keep building this rice porridge narrative with all the words you bring up.
Guys, we also have this. Well,
Oh yes,
I also
we
have
do.
This book.
So Dolly's been studying up. So
I've been
yeah,
preparing
Dolly's
for
been
this
studying
day.
up.
An essential guide to Singlish. It says, "Do you speak English? Of course, la. Singlish also can."
Yeah, that's exactly how you say it in Singapore.
Can.
I just noticed on the back it says, "Don't open your mouth without it." And I feel that's a lot of pressure to
Interesting.
put on the book.
That's a lot of pressure. That's definitely a lot of pressure. Shout out to Winnie from Style for giving me this book because she saw.
She's Malaysian,
She's Malaysian,
but
that's,
we don't mind.
we don't mind.
Why do you own the book, Winnie?
I think Winnie would say that she does not own this book. That this book happened upon her.
That's fair. That's fair. And the last word I wanted to explain. And this one is tough. This one is a standard English word, but it's the usage that matters. It's
Then.
then.
No, you pronounce it wrong. You can't say TH.
What? How do you say it?
Then?
Den, like a den that you sleep in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Den.
Yeah, we have a strange relationship with
Sam
THs.
Yuen, are you from Singapore? You can't just stick a la at the end of something. Somebody's just like on the live stream, of course la.
Of course, la.
You can't just la everything. That's basic.
Vicki has been an editor for many years and is a great writer and copy editor as
And
well.
scholar of English.
And scholar
No,
of
Singlish.
And
Scholar,
Singlish.
scholar of Singlish.
And to hear her throw out this word then as if it's just so flexible.
It's
It's
very
the most
flexible.
yes.
Okay.
I'm
how would
gonna.
you use it?
Okay. So you can say. So then is more like a punctuation, but it's very flexible. You can say, like if it's something is understood, you can say, yalla then.
Yalla, like the Arabic word yalla.
No, like ya, and like la, like Singlish, and then.
Do you think yalla came from?
I'm very sure it did not.
Or if you want someone to continue like a story, a long-winded story, you just so they finish a sentence and they pause for effect or something. You just say then.
Like, and then what?
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, so you
Then.
can say,
Yeah.
and then.
So back to the rice porridge. So if I'm eating my rice porridge,
course.
it's so shook, and then someone comes over,
So
they
shook.
knock it over, and I'm like, walao.
Yeah. Oh, and they say sorry, and you say then, because
But that's
sorry is
also
not enough.
Oh,
Right.
so I can use it in like a sad way, like then.
Yeah.
What happens to my rice?
Or no, you can
porridge?
demand using then, like so. Oh, sorry. Then you say then.
Like,
And
where's
they're
my
like,
rice?
Okay, okay, okay. I buy you. I buy you.
I
Then?
much prefer your NS
Oh, okay, yeah.
example. Please explain NS.
So I was okay. National
NS
Service,
is a conscription. 2
yeah.
years of military service in Singapore.
So in Singapore, every male citizen has to serve 2 years in the army, the air force, the navy, the police, or the civil defense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which one? Which one did you
You
do?
can't choose. I was in the army.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
that mean? Like you march?
Yeah, and you sleep in jungles and stuff, and you shoot a lot of guns.
Singaporean men are very macho.
And you shoot guns?
Yeah, we shoot guns. It's really no, don't
I
shoot
think
guns.
that Singapore is such a peace-loving place.
Yeah, and so I was an instructor. I was teaching trainees, and one of my favorite phrases was "then," because
Oh, I like that.
it's so like sudden and shocking and demanding. So if my trainee has been walking when he should be marching, because trainees should march from point to point, and then I'd go, "Hey, you go somewhere, you must walk or march,
You must walk a march.
or march."
You
know.
must.
Basically,
Are you
Wait, wait,
walking
before
or
you-
are you marching?
Oh.
yeah, should you be walking or should you be marching? And they will go, "March, Sergeant." Because that's the feeble way trainees speak, right?
Is that required?
Yeah, they're trained to speak like that. And then I just go, "Then?" As
Where's
if
my
to
rice
say-
porridge?
As if to say,
Then?
And then.
you
Really
should
like
know
that.
better, and since you know that you should be marching, why are you walking?
And everybody's like, hello, get
Yeah.
Angmo shout at us.
Yeah, that's how.
Voila, this Amor
pretty
telling
much.
us what to do. No shook, no shook.
Yes, very unshook.
So then is great. Use then all the time.
I think Shea is waiting to use this on his child.
Yes, he's getting to 3 years old, but maybe 4 or 5. Yeah, I'm just gonna try it all the time.
Just den him around.
Yeah.
Janelle says, teach us how to use one.
One, like
This is
one.
my one.
Yeah.
Wait, like one, like number one?
One,
Yeah.
correct.
O-N-E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
my, mine.
Instead of saying mine, you say this is my one.
My one. This is my one.
Why?
I think it's
from
Mandarin.
Chinese,
I think
yeah.
it's Mandarin.
Which part of Mandarin says that?
Good point. I think it replaces, like, it's like 这是我的.
Yeah. So it's the
Oh.
Yeah, this
that's
is
the-
my,
the.
yeah.
Though
Yeah.
mine does include the for people who don't know Mandarin. 我的 that full phrase is like mine.
mine.
Yeah.
我的 is
yeah.
mine.
我
But
is I. The is the possessive.
okay, I think this brings us to English words that have been bastardized. This is a great, this is a great
yeah.
segue. Yes. So mine, 我的 my. But you know, I mean, a lot of okay. So a little bit of an explanation first. Singapore is 75% Chinese, and that comes from a lot of the Chinese merchants and laborers that came from China back in the 1800s. Yeah, the 1800s when Singapore was still under British rule. You know, they just came and made their fortune, and then
Yeah, they just came in.
just came in and
Lived.
lived
basically.
and
Yeah, it's happened all the way
it's
to, like,
difficult
I guess
to-
the
to
30s
use
and
the right word.
40s.
I actually, so I
Yes.
didn't know much about Singapore or Malaysia's history before
Correct.
I moved out here, and then now, there are a lot of Asians from all over here in Hong Kong, and I just learned that Chinese people came to Malaysia before there was a thing called Singapore, and then they were put into this corner that eventually became Singapore because the Malaysians didn't want the Chinese in Malaysia. Is this right? Am I?
so it's complex, right? So Singapore became very majority Chinese, and because of some race politics, they decided to kick Singapore out in the 60s.
Like they voted on this?
Singapore didn't vote.
Malaysia said,
Malaysia
you
decided.
Chinese people, go over there. Is there a phrase for Chinese people?
That's a good question. There probably is. You mean like China? Oh my God. So like China, like CINA, CINA.
Is
China.
that derogatory?
A
don't know. I
little,
don't
a
know.
little. It
Yeah.
is a little derogatory, and so it's complex. Even Chinese people use it in a derogatory way. So I don't know if this is one of those things where you can say this about your own race, but my my mom, who is Peranakan, will say that something is China because it's, and sometimes it's definitely said in a derogatory way.
For sure.
You know, yeah.
You guys, I don't know if you remember a few years ago when some of these young elected officials were trying to, this was in Hong Kong, when they were being sworn in here in Hong Kong, they had used this derogatory term to refer to Chinese people. It's like using the word chink. It's a racial slur.
Yeah.
And they had said something like motherfucking China. But the way it was covered in like mass media was, oh, these people were kicked out, or these young democratic leaders were kicked out for being advocates of democracy. But I'm pretty sure if you used a racial slur in almost any political system as you were being sworn in, especially one that's towards any race, you'd probably be kicked out too. So that's interesting because it kind of gives you context about like where that word comes from, because that was the same word that was used here in Hong Kong.
And I think that's a source of a lot of, it's a source of a lot of racial unfairness to folks like Shea, for example, who are 100% Singaporean, but get classified as, like you tune in and you're like, wait, how's that white guy gonna know Singlish? It's not fair that Singlish is only the domain of Chinese or Malay or Indian people.
Yeah, there's a very narrow definition of what a Singaporean can be for a lot of Singaporeans. And so when they see my face, they don't expect me to speak with a Singlish accent, I guess. Yeah, but overseas it's it's like mysterious, slightly,
spooky.
That's why I lie to myself. It's cool overseas.
You're like, I've shot guns. I'm an Ang Mo.
Yeah.
Just life is shook. Life is shook. Life is shook.
Yeah. Let's move on to these English words.
Okay, English words. That.
Like that.
You like that one?
Like that's good.
Oh no, I didn't spell this right. I'm
It's
sorry.
2 Ds.
It's 2 Ds. I'm sorry, I spelled this one wrongly.
Well, we can add a D. Let's add a D. Let's make sure we.
Let's get that. It's
get
2
the-
Ds. It's like that, not
We
lead
are live.
We are live.
Copy editing this. So.
Yvonne, who is Malaysian, says, we were one country. There are Malaysian Chinese too. I'm sorry,
That's
Yvonne.
true.
That is true.
That's true.
Your people did not get broken off in the crumb.
The crumb. I'm sorry, I called Singapore crumb.
We will never forgive you.
No, it's a grudge I'll keep for life.
And Janelle says, I'm trying to spread Singlish to America. Will it work? After this lesson, well, I have a feeling you already know it. Okay. Yes, the answer is yes.
It'll work.
It will work.
Rewatch Crazy Rich Asians.
Let it.
Like that. How can like that?
How can
What?
you let it? Like that.
Yeah.
How can you like
Like
that?
if you've done something wrong.
Why
and then
you
say,
got?
"Like
Why you gotta be
like that?
There you go. Right.
Why you gotta be like that?
Actually, now it just sounds like English. Okay,
No,
skip
but it's a
ahead.
very
Skip
fine
ahead.
line.
Skip
It's a very
ahead.
fine
It
line.
is a fine line. It is
Okay,
a
let
fine
me
line.
see.
Okay,
What's
this one I
this
like.
one?
Oh,
This I like.
own
Oh,
self.
own
It's
self.
great.
This is
Okay,
great. This
can I
is
guess
from
what this
Mandarin.
means?
This is definitely from Mandarin.
It's from Mandarin?
yes.
Okay, 我自己
Right.
maybe? Own self doesn't mean
It's from Chinese
Yeah,
grammar.
yeah,
It's definitely from Chinese grammar. It's like 我自己说
Yeah.
I own self say
I own self say.
我自己
我自己说。我自己 is this phrase in Mandarin that's like
me
I myself.
I myself say I own self
I
say
own self
Own
say.
self is
Or
great.
if I've cooked something and I've given you, part of it to eat, and you say, "Oh, that's great. Who cooked it?" And I say, "I own self cook one."
So the rice porridge,
Yeah.
the rice porridge that has been knocked over, and now I go back to Shea. I'm like, Shea, I need more rice porridge, and you're like, I own self-cook and it's no more.
Yep. You can even use own self twice in a sentence. Like if I say I'm incredibly handsome, and then somebody like, "Well, own self say own self."
Oh,
Wait, did she use a double
oh, that's
own
so good.
self?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I'm just
amazing.
threw
Repeat,
two
repeat.
own selves
That's
in a
really good.
sentence.
I don't
Great, isn't it?
understand.
I retire.
Retire. We have a
True
master.
scholar of something.
Yeah, the true
Yeah.
scholars.
Basically, if you're praising yourself or you're saying something good about yourself, then people can be like, "Wow, own self say own self."
Own self say own self.
It means
Self,
like
so I'm gonna,
自己
okay.
说自己.
Okay,
It
I
still
need to
is
write this one
Mandarin.
down.
It still
Own
is
self
Mandarin.
say, own
good.
self
It's
say,
like, oh,
own
yes.
self.
Really
Okay,
good.
okay, that's
no,
a
that's
good one.
really, really good.
That means you said this about yourself.
Yes.
Correct.
Own self say, own self.
Oh, I love that.
value add. The value add I bring to this.
Oh,
Wow,
that's
okay.
nice.
I'm gonna keep a own self
You seem
say.
convinced of my
own
worth.
self.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you in a
Self say,
different
own
light.
self.
Whoa.
Wow.
I know.
Oh.
Like
Well,
that.
that is quite
Whoa,
Okay.
like that. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, this is my last one for English. This is one of my favorites.
Weapon?
You say it. You say it.
Is it weapon?
Weapon.
What happened?
What happened?
Weapon.
Hey, weapon.
Like that.
I've never actually seen this written out in in words before. But yeah, we say it.
Weapon.
Weapon to you.
Yeah.
Weapon.
What has happened to you?
Somebody knocked over your rice porridge.
Somebody.
Weapon.
Weapon. Wait, what's the other word? Walao.
Walao. Weapon.
Walao.
You're picking up fast.
Yeah, you can string it together. You can definitely string these together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're also useful in situations other than rice porridge, and your bowls of rice porridge being knocked on the floor.
The rice porridge has been so helpful though.
Okay. Thank you, Sam.
What has Sam said?
Sam says weapon is a good one, and yes,
Guys,
teach
if
us.
you have more that you want to throw in,
Oh,
feel
it's
free to
intense.
throw them in. It's getting intense in there.
Yeah, it's getting very intense in this chat.
Oh,
Usually
no.
I'm not tuned in, but I had a feeling I would get a lot of people weighing in.
Good intense or bad intense?
Good intense, good
Okay,
intense.
good.
People are
throw
very
them in,
pumped.
throw them in the
very
comments so that
pumped.
we can keep going with this.
No, Sam, no weapon la. You can't just put a la. We gotta have a word about this. Let's talk more.
Actually, la is actually a quite complicated thing, as I've learned. We actually
Correct.
found this great cartoon in the book that Winnie gave us that explains all of these laws and lores and all of them. Let's see, let's pull that one up.
If we can, yeah.
Let's go through the laws and lores. While that's being pulled up, I'm gonna look at it in our book. So
The cartoon is the cartoon is actually an explanation of me, ho, ha, lo, le, la, a. Actually, they're missing liao.
this is the do, re, mi, fa, so of Singlish.
Correct. It's very, very tough to explain. It is tough to explain.
It is. It's quite difficult. Yes.
Okay, so let's start at the top of the Singlish ladder. Singlish la, which is la feels kind of just like emphasis to me, like
La.
Like-
yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily say Singlish lah, you know. We had laugh for emphasis. Like I just did
Yeah,
a
for emphasis,
video on the
that's right.
South China Morning Post about how to use okay lah.
okay la.
And you know, one thing that I realized while writing the script 5 minutes before filming was you can't actually replace okay with okay lah. If you want someone to say okay, you know, or if you're trying to say okay, don't say okay lah. Brett.
Brett.
Who I hope is watching, but yeah.
What the fuck la is the only one that seems valid so far, so.
What the fuck lah is great.
What the fuck la is so
is
good.
very good.
WTFL.
Actually, I have to say, looking at this chart, I do very much like if it was like, what the fuck law.
Yeah.
What
That's
the
really
fuck
good.
law?
What the fuck law.
Okay, wait,
It's
but
much
then what's
better.
the difference
I like
between
that.
the la, le, and law?
Lay?
Lay.
Lay. Oh, L-E-H is lay.
Can lay.
Well, can lay
Lay,
is like if you say that something can't be done, and I say can lay, that means that yes, it
Yes,
can
it
be
can
done.
be done. Okay. I feel like this,
And you're like doubtful, and you're like, I don't believe it can be done, and you're like, can law.
Yeah, yeah.
well, why would you use can lay in that?
It's
Context.
pleading. Can lay is more persuasive. Can law is more like, I'm almost done with this conversation.
Can law.
Yeah.
And then can la, yes.
Can la. It's
Can
more of a-
la,
can
okay,
la, it's
okay,
more,
okay.
It's more, you know.
I-
That's why this guy's at the top of the ladder.
Of the ladder, of the
Yeah,
Singlish ladder. I feel like
correct.
this is actually kind of similar to Cantonese where people always end things in la. It was like, sik fan la, or like,
I
you
have
knock
to
over my rice
say-
porridge la.
I don't understand the Cantonese la or the Hong Kong la. They use it in different
Yes,
ways.
it is very different. I
Yep.
feel like the Cantonese la is a lot more, you know, it's a lot friendlier. Like,
Yeah.
like, hey, come eat la.
It's
know,
usually, you
come
hear
eat
a
la.
lot to
Yeah.
punctuate some type of, or it's usually a warm thing. Yeah, I agree that it tends to be positive and it punctuates.
It's less
the
of
phrase.
of an exclamation mark.
Yeah, or like when people say, "Oh, you don't have to do that," they're like "msai la," but I've never heard people. I never really hear people say, "Oh, msai," which just feels like the sentence hasn't.
Oh, it
ended.
hasn't ended. That's why you can't say that's mine. You have to say that's my One.
My one.
If
Yeah.
someone says that's mine, they've studied overseas.
Oh.
Oh, how could they?
Oh, and that's how you get. No, okay. I'll get to this. I'll get to this in a bit. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
a great segue, by the
That's
way.
a great
Yeah, I saw where you were
That's a
going.
great segue. No, I didn't expect to get here. But,
But here
I
we
wanted
are.
to segue into the next section, which was a little bit more of our history as well, right?
Yes.
Which is Malay words that have been bastardized by, often by Chinese people who, can't wrap their heads around the Malay pronunciation, or have heard it wrongly over the years and just kind of adopted it into the lexicon. One of those words, which
Kantang.
so these are Malay words, so you wouldn't
Okay,
recognize them. The original form is kentang, but
see.
am I right? Okay, so this one,
Kentang.
I do need people's help for this, especially if Yvonne,
Fact
if you're
check
still
us.
watching. Yvonne, if you're still watching, kentang is Malay for potato,
Potato, yeah.
Oh.
and kantang is the Chinese
people say,
bastardization.
yeah.
They're like, hey, you're damn kantang.
So that means that you're very westernized because, of course, Western people eat potatoes, whereas Asian people eat rice.
Yes.
So you
So it's-
call somebody this?
Yes.
Yeah. Or do you say you jiak kantang?
Oh.
What's jiak?
Like, eat.
Eat potatoes.
Eat in Hokkien.
Jia is eat.
Jiak.
in-
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
jiak.
that
Sure.
means, yeah. So that means you're really, really westernized.
Interesting.
Yeah. You're,
Jia kantang.
So you don't talk about eating?
Okay,
kantang?
question. Do you ever say that somebody who's born and raised in the US is Jakarta? No, right? You say that about somebody who is westernized but Singaporean.
yes. Like the kind of people who, go to the US to study for 1 year and 5 minutes on the plane out, they have an American accent already. Yeah. Pet peeve.
Check. Ignore him.
So
Ignore him. That's
you don't
not
use this for
necessary.
actually eating potatoes, though?
No, they're not actually literally. No, you don't use it for, when people are actually
it's
eating.
only a phrase for talking about westernized Singaporeans.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had this said to you? Jakantang.
Not me.
Yes.
Not
Because-
Shay, obviously.
Yeah,
Not Shay.
Because while, westernized Singaporeans grew to love the potatoes, I was born in it.
You were born in a potato.
He was.
Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, no, not me specifically, but more and more.
So funny. Okay, here's another one that is Malay and Chinese. Well, Malay and bastardized Malay.
Loti.
The
That's
correct.
laces.
I know. It is racist. It's a bunch of Chinese people not being able to say R. It honestly is.
Rip.
So, this is the correct word, roti, Malay for bread. And all the Chinese people say loti, and all the Hokkien people in Singapore say it with a Hokkien intonation. They say loti.
Yes. Why?
Right?
Yeah, why
What? No,
do
it's
you do
become a word. It's become a word.
Why has it
like
become an actual
loti.
Hokkien word? Like, I'm not
I
familiar
don't know.
with Hokkien that much.
Okay, so I'm not sure if it's become an actual Hokkien word. But like words like basa.
Oh,
What's
yes,
basa?
yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
market.
it's market,
But
and
from
it's
Malay.
become a Mandarin word. Like we learn it in school, but it's not supposed to be. It's like it comes from the Malay word pasar.
Yeah, P-A-S-A-R.
P-A-S-A-R. Okay,
So
okay.
that's the
Pasar.
Malay word for market. But that's become the Singapore Mandarin word for market as well.
And how's it spelled in the Singaporean?
It's literally oh. Whoa!
Oh, this is a very different spelling.
I'm sorry.
We've introduced another layer.
That's kind of racist.
This angmo, oh my god. It's just,
I know. Just
I
blowing
just
minds all
basa.
around the world.
I was expecting you to write like B-A-S-A, but this
I was
truly
expecting
takes us
that
to
too.
another
She
level.
asked you how it's spelled in
I
Singlish,
took it up another
not
level.
in Mandarin.
This is also on
The
Shay's
only
resume.
caveat is I hope this is right.
Oh.
It could be wrong.
It's right.
The sha looks
Yeah, it
dubious.
looks a bit dodgy.
It's slightly dodgy.
Close enough.
But yes, so Pasha has
Means
become
market.
part, and it's from Malay.
And that's a good example.
Huh.
I'll just think about that. Yep.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
I wonder what other words have entered that have become Mandarin that came from like Malaysian or Singaporean words.
Amanda Jones says, "Que pasa?"
Que pasa? Que pasa?
So good.
That's great.
Oh wait, Chris says, "Pasar," also a borrowed word from bazaar.
Layers
Arabic-
upon layers.
Layers. Okay, no,
Okay,
this
that's
is
awesome.
Really good.
Bazaar,
Wait, that's
Pasa,
so good. Can we-
Pasa. Oh, I love
Oh,
that.
right. I love
Thank you.
that.
That's
love
actually
all
great.
This linguistic stuff. Yes. Okay, so this comes
makes a
from
lot of sense.
bazaar.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Bazaar.
Oh.
Pasar.
That's
So in Singlish, would you write like BASA? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
No, in Singlish. No, in Singlish you would say.
Just say
you-
market lah.
Market lah.
Wow, that sounded so true to myself.
Oh God.
It's a market lah.
It's like
Market
basket.
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 I
Basket
love
is a good
this.
one.
Basket.
Oh, okay. We're straying into other territory at this point.
I love this.
We're straying to other
Yeah, we
territory.
can do a whole episode.
Oh,
on
we can.
vulgarities.
We really could. Ah, this is not really a vulgarity, is it?
It's a mild
Basket?
vulgarity for people who don't dare to say the full thing.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's like bastard, but you know, if you don't dare to say bastard,
But it's very
Say
common. But it is very, very
Like,
common.
oh,
It's
so
super common.
You basket.
yeah. No, you have to stretch it out a bit. Basket.
Correct.
Right?
Instead
Correct.
of bastard, so it
Correct.
just completely replaces bastard.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the strange thing is used
Basket.
It's like
kind of
what the
by-
fish.
What the?
It's like what the
Yes.
fish.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. Correct. Basket.
Yeah. No, but it's used
Yeah, there you
by
go.
certain Singlish words kind of betray your age.
Oh.
So, you know, young people are not so much using basket. I believe. I could be wrong. I might be out of touch with the kids.
With the kids.
All right.
Kids tell us.
Here's the last one before we cut to
Before,
break.
yeah, we've got a little. We have a break coming ahead of us.
Okay, this one is complex.
It is complex.
So, this is Malay.
Leche.
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 Leche, like dulce de leche, like milk. No.
Okay.
Que pasa?
¿Qué pasa? And this is how the Chinese people in Singapore have come to spell it.
Leche.
Like, wow, I don't want to do that. Damn leche.
Yeah,
Damn
there are a bunch of
leche,
variations
yeah.
of how to spell it.
What
but
is-
basically,
Okay,
it
use
means
it in a
Please, yeah.
sentence and let me see
something
if I can
that's-
understand what
something
it
that's
is.
really troublesome. Oh, he knocked down my bowl of rice porridge. Now need to clean leche, sia.
It's troublesome.
Leches, yeah.
Oh, no,
It's-
don't-
forget
ignore
this,
the
yeah.
That's
It's
another-
high level shit. Forget this, yeah. He means it's troublesome,
Yeah.
right? It's
Leche.
leche.
So this
It's
is how it's spelled
troublesome.
in Malay. But you know, because the rest of Singapore who don't actually know Malay don't know how to spell it. So
Correct.
It comes out in all sorts
So-
of variations.
I think we should talk about this after the break, which is that a ton of Singaporeans don't know Malay, but use these Malay words. Without knowing, right? Without knowing where they've come from and the history behind them.
Interesting. Okay. So on that note of bastardizing Malaysian words, we're gonna take a little break and show you guys one of our newest videos, which is part of our spooky series. We've been doing 30 days of spooky content on Goldthread's IG, so you can follow our IG stories for one spooky story a day. Yesterday we just did one on the 5 top Hong Kong Kung Fu horror comedies, which is totally a genre. We gave you 5 great movies to watch that are from the 80s and 90s. So let's play one of our first spoopy or spooky videos, and when we're back, we'll discuss more Malaysian Singaporean words.
I'm haunted.
We all know people die, but did you know animals die too? And some of those animals have funerals, just like people. Out here in Hong Kong and all over China, the pet funeral business is booming. And so of course we had to ask, are pet funerals spoopy or spooky? So turns out dog ownership, just like cocaine use, is a great way to find out whether or not a country's people are getting richer. More money, more dogs. And with more dogs, come more dog things. This is a dog memorial and funeral service in Hong Kong.
I established this company 7 years ago because my pet died. She was a Pomeranian. She died of old age. And what happened was back then I didn't know what services are out there.
Pet ownership in China has been growing at 15% a year and ranks 3rd for dog ownership worldwide. And pets, especially dogs, are often symbols of luxury. I love dogs. Woof woof. But funerals are Ov's emotional times. In Shanghai, you can even choose a Buddhist dog funeral. In Hong Kong, you can even plan your dog's death, if planning is a thing. Or you can be a real angel and send off a street cat to its next life. Whatever your preference, China and Hong Kong probably have the right pet funeral for you. Okay, now that we know that cat and dog funerals are def a thing, we're gonna try something a little different today. And by different, I mean contacting my dead cat Kitty, rest her soul. Kitty was a mother to 6 beautiful kittens, and we were never able to give her a proper burial because she ran away from home and never came back. And that was 16 years ago, so she's dead. Now for the summoning, I'm gonna use my magical crystal ball. Hair of cat and tongue of dog. Fear of Buddha and love of frogs. I call upon the spirits of Meowth. Bring me Kitty from down south. Oh my god, Kitty. Kitty, is that you? Are you safe? Are you warm? Are your children there? How are they treating you? Is the salmon organic or are they feeding you that fake tuna crap? Is it just one giant litter box in the sky or do you even poop anymore? No, Kitty, don't go. You never even got to say goodbye. I would have given you a proper funeral. Wait, were you? But back to reality. Chinese pet funerals. Spoopy or spooky? While contacting your dead pet might be spooky, the reality of pet funerals is downright spoopy. Emphasis on the
Yeah, Singlish is the best language is the last thing Shea just said.
Yes. It's objectively the best, the most romantic language in the world.
Romantic, I think, is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But do you ever feel pressure? I mean, like segueing into now, like Singlish in application and IRL, and as Janelle said, trying to spread it to the US. Do you ever feel pressure to tone down your accent?
Oh, it's a good question. So my mom, who is Singaporean Chinese, speaks to my grandma, who is British.
White.
And white. Yeah. And when she speaks to her, suddenly the accent changes to this ridiculous blend of British and so she says, "Oh, Teresa, that's so lovely." I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's not how you speak. And that's what Singaporeans do. We go overseas, right? And we hear, white people accents.
Yeah.
And suddenly the Singaporean gets toned down, it becomes neutral. And that's wrong. Why? Do people, does the rest of the world tone down accents so that, they can be understood and stuff? I don't think so,
Well, I mean, when accents are... I can understand when people are trying to, match the accents of the main culture, right? I lived in Texas for a few years in college, and whenever I would go to some cities that were just not major cities, I had no idea what was going on. And we're also speaking English, right? Like one time I was in San Antonio and I was just trying to buy some tchotchkes or whatever, and this lady kept trying to ask me if I wanted to pay with cash or credit card. And I'm not even gonna try to put on a Texas accent, but I just did not understand what she was saying, and I sat there for 5 minutes holding the line going like, what? Until finally she was like, Visa? And I was like, yes. I will Visa.
But people do lose their regional accents in the US if they want to. Like actors who go to Hollywood and don't sound like whichever Midwest town they come from, right?
Yeah. But
That's
do you
the thing
think
that
there's
happens.
pressure to lose the accent when you're speaking to more I don't know, Americans or British people or...
Okay, so this is my so my pet peeve. So my pet peeve is personally I think so I sound like this in my head naturally when I speak to my family and friends and so on. In Singapore, I've had people. I think I sound very neutral in my definition of neutral. I think you understand me. I think you understand me, right? But in Singapore, people will say, "Oh, you cak kentang."
Oh,
You
you've
check on the-
heard it.
you eat the potatoes.
Right?
Damn.
Like, why don't you sound more
Singlish.
Singlish?
And then what is your response?
I mean, and I'm saying I don't think I sound foreign. I don't think I sound American or British or anything. I think I sound
You.
me.
No, but if you're true to yourself,
Right.
then I think that's fine, and that's the message for a Disney movie. No,
Okay, but I think
that's okay.
there's an element of we were talking about this earlier during the break offline. There's an element of classism
Yeah.
to that, right? The assumption is that if you sound what we consider ghetto, which is extremely Singlish, then that must mean that you're uneducated, or that must mean that your mom didn't have money to bring you to go watch Les Mis at the.
What is this reference? What is
to me, a lot of the reference is a lot of the kids. If they're cultured, it's because their parents could take them to watch plays and not movies. Right, it's fancy. It's fancy.
We go to the play. We listen to the opera. That.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly, right? And so all the people who like Jack Kantang,
They eat the potatoes.
they get to, right? And why it was completely accepted that what's his name? The lead in Crazy Rich Asians.
Henry Golding.
Well, no, I mean
No.
the character, right? Like Nick.
Nick.
Why it was completely accepted that him and all of his friends had American or British accents because they either had the money to study overseas or had the money to be away from the riffraff.
Yeah, that's a good point. The world would not have accepted the movie with Singaporean
The world
accents.
wouldn't, but
No,
Singaporeans
no.
also accepted the movie as being like, yeah, that's very accurate. I have like, that fancy guy I went to school with has no local friends, only has like international school
Right,
friends,
with
and
like British accents.
Yeah.
Interesting.
right. So that's part of it, I think, as well.
Do you find that like do you speak more Singlish when you're with family or with friends, or like is this something that when you went to school in Singapore that you would speak with your classmates?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think in Singlish,
Yeah,
but when
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing presentations, right? Like even if it's just in front of your friends who you speak Singlish to all the time, if you're doing presentations something for class,
Yeah.
suddenly it neutralizes a bit because
Right.
it's more formal, it's more accepted. Like you won't see a newsreader, with a straight up like full Singlish accent, full Geylang,
Fu Geylang, what is
Geylang.
Geylang?
Oh, it's a long story. Geylang's the red light district of Singapore where you can get really, really good food.
Where people associate it with being more ghetto.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Okay.
So they're like, oh, people in Geylang speak that way. I mean, I think that's Singapore is so small that it's very difficult to say, oh, people in the East speak a certain way from people in the West. There's no such thing.
Do Malaysians understand Singlish?
Yeah,
Yeah, they've got their own version. They've got Manglish.
Manglish.
but it is very
I
similar.
think-
I think they have all the same las and laws.
Yeah.
And I think they have a lot,
same
but they
laws.
probably don't bastardize Malay words
Oh,
quite
yeah,
as
they
much,
probably
right?
know the Malay words.
They probably know the
Oh,
Malay
yeah.
words.
Yeah, well, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
They would know the
When I
Yeah.
did one of my 2 green screen videos for the South China Morning Post,
Every time you say the South China Morning, the
fucking
South China Morning
plug.
Post by his full name.
The South China Morning Post.
yes,
South China Morning Post.
the SCMP. So it was about Singlish, ostensibly about Singlish, but there were a lot of Malaysians saying, "Hey, we use that as well." And it's like, I know, bro, I didn't say that. I didn't say it was ours.
Well,
People want to be
just chill out.
included, right? Like I think maybe it's, I guess like I'm sure there are a lot of Malaysians who actually
if
live
you
in
guys
Singapore.
did not break up with us, we could all be no.
It was you specifically.
You
Yeah.
you broke up with me.
You dumped us, but we live.
You made Lee Kuan Yew cry.
You made Lee Kuan Yew cry on TV.
You may leak. What?
They made Lee Kuan Yew cry.
Lee
on
Kuan
TV.
Yew was the founding prime minister. Well, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, the founding prime minister of Singapore.
They made Lee Kuan Yew cry.
And he cried on
Cried on
TV
TV.
because he was like, "You guys, we're
You guys
we're
look
alone.
this up on
We're this tiny
Wikipedia right
thing."
now. I'm gonna fill
There
it
are
in
clips
the
of him.
comments.
Yeah, there are clips of him on YouTube crying.
Wait, he's why? Why?
Because
what
all
happened?
his adult life, he believed.
Like, are you gonna stand up for this?
He actually said that. And I forget the rest of the sentence. No, but he believed that unification of Singapore and Malaysia was, the best way. Because Singapore didn't have any natural resources and was tiny and stuff like that. But because of circumstances out of his control, we were forced to split up.
And
Okay, before we get into too much insane Malaysia Singapore history, I wanna bring the relevance back to this language and one an American. Okay, so maybe it's my turn to ask you, as an American, what does all of this sound like to you? And as an Asian American, what does all of this sound like to you when ethnically Chinese people are like you but different? You're seeing a bunch of Chinese people speak English, but not quite.
yeah.
Right,
yeah.
like how does this all...
Yeah. I think that, well, the nice thing is that there's some words in Singlish that do feel very Cantonese, like all the laws and laws. I mean, in Cantonese, we don't have nearly as many laws and laws and l and whatever, but you kind of understand the functionality of it. It's a little bit harder to describe in just English what the function of la is, other than to punctuate a sentence. But it's also surprising because Singapore is a mostly ethnically Chinese place that speaks a lot of English, and that's not really true of anywhere else. Like, I didn't grow up speaking English. My parents don't speak English. A lot of the people I grew up with don't speak English. And it wasn't probably until college that I met other people who were ethnically, or I guess not white, and spoke to their parents in English. And I thought that was like the craziest thing, that people's parents could speak to them in English. But it seems like people in Singapore speak to their parents in English.
Yeah.
Not everyone though. Like that's why you see varying levels of. Okay, I think maybe nowadays, yes, the it is generally English, but you know, if you go back 10 or 20 years, there were still people speaking the Hokkien or Teochew and stuff at home.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, when
I'm sure people still do
yeah,
at home.
yeah.
Yeah,
But they still know English at a functional level.
Sure.
Yeah, they're not going to be writing essays. They're probably not going to be writing even sentences
Right.
grammatically, but they know English.
So in school you guys are taught in English?
Yeah.
Yes.
Completely?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mostly only speak English.
British English or?
British
British
English.
English.
The
Just like Hong
superior
Kong.
English. Yes.
Right.
This inferior English, you mean, with all of the extra U's that are so offensive that we constantly have to delete.
We love our use.
No, too much. It's imperialism, imposing its imperial arm, imperial you on you.
I've started too much. Yeah. I've opened the can of worms.
Really unnecessary.
It's just me.
Why
That
you so
describes
like
me
that?
all the time.
Why are you so like that? Don't be so like that.
Why are you so like that?
Why are you so like
That's
that?
a Singlish song from the 90s.
That's true.
Why
Why
are
you
you
so
so
like-
like that?
Oh my god, I wish we could
I
play
give
it.
you a Kit Kat, you never give me back.
I give you a ticket.
Kit Kat.
Oh, Kit Kat.
Kit Kat.
What is this a song? We're gonna have to look this song up later and throw it in the comments. Somebody
that was
find the song
hilarious.
so I can watch
I didn't
it.
know that was
Somebody put the
I could
comments
be
in the
wrong.
song.
Like, it's in my head for some reason. Yeah. Why are you so like that?
Why are you so like that? I give you Kit Kat, you don't give me what?
Back.
Back. Why would you give back a Kit Kat though?
Friendship, kindness, reciprocation.
Oh god. Yeah, so I think, Singapore is still a really new place to me. And obviously I think Crazy Rich Asians has put Singapore on the map for a lot of people. And there was also a lot of words in there that I've heard used by Cantonese people that I didn't realize came from like Singapore, Malaysia, like kaki lang.
Oh.
Is that,
there's-
that's Teochew, is it?
Is it? I don't know.
Teachin.
Is it?
I think it's Teochew.
In the Crazy Rich
Well, it could
Asian
be.
scene,
It could be Hokkien too.
Okay.
the scene where the mom tells the future daughter-in-law that she's never going to be part of the family. She's like, oh, we have this phrase in Singapore and it's kaki lang and you are not it.
Is that how she speaks?
Something
What's
like
that?
that. That's my American interpretation of
Of like a very prissy rich woman from well.
But I've heard my dad use this word, but he said he bastardizes it. He baskets it. So I've heard him since I was a kid say this word as kati lang. And
Because he's heard it as that.
he's heard
probably.
it as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I assumed it was Hakka or something because my dad's Hakka. I assumed it was some Chinese village word that I did not know. Gati lang. This is probably how you end up with all these bastardized
Right.
English and Malaysian words with people like my dad saying loti
Yeah.
and gati lang. And until I watched Crazy Rich Asians and I connected the dots with kaki lang and gati lang. So it's cool to see that some of the words actually go into like Cantonese and English, and seeing that bazaar is something that gets translated back to Mandarin.
I love that bizarre thing.
I love
was
that.
Great.
I love
Yeah,
that.
that's
That was
great.
great.
Yeah,
That's
genuinely eye-opening.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's worth doing like a whole video on, I think. But yeah. So today I've got bazaar. I've got. I'm trying to review. Okay, so I'm back to my rice porridge. I'm trying to review the lesson today was the rice porridge that I eat, and it is so shook. But
Then?
some ghost interrupts the situation and knocks over my rice porridge, and I'm just like,
Why
Voila.
are you so like that?
why are you so like that? What happened? No. Whoopin'.
Whoppin'.
Weapon.
Nice.
Wow.
This is great. man.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
I go to
impressed.
Shay and I'm like, Shay, I need a new bowl of rice porridge. And Shay's like, oh, well, I only make enough for you and me because own self.
This one was too complex.
Because something own self for own self.
No, so there wasn't any more rice porridge because you own self cook one.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
right?
own self
You made it
cook.
yourself, and
And
there
you're not
wasn't
gonna do
only
it
enough for
again
the
because
bowl.
it's damn leche.
Yeah, it is leche.
What is leche?
Then?
Oh,
Troublesome.
I was like, milk.
Then?
then?
Then
Then we'll have to do another Singlish episode. So I can get more advanced. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in for our Singlish episode. Thank you, Vicki and Shea, for coming in on your vacation, spending the day teaching me
She
how
looked
to
at
say
you.
this.
Yeah.
So if you want more Singlish, let us know. Hit us up in the comments. We'll be taking a little break from the late night show for the next 2 weeks as we gear up some more content for our spooky month. And if you haven't been following along, we've been putting a lot of spooky stories out. Stories on death and superstition. We've got stuff for the rest of October. There's a lot of really amazing ghost, monster, and superstition stories out here, and super excited to share them with you. So check us out on YouTube and Instagram. Make sure you're following our 30 Days with Spooky, and we will see you guys in a few weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been watching Late Night with Goldthread. Thank you and come again.